In order to add a discussion forum to my Blackboard course, I first need to add discussions to my main course menu here. And so to do that, I'm going to hover over the plus sign in the top left area above my main course menu. And when I do that, I can see a cascading menu. And I'm going to select Tool Link because I'm going to add the Blackboard tool to this menu. So I'm prompted to give it a name. I'll call it Discussions. And for type, I'm going to select Discussion Board, make it available to users, and hit Submit. And I can see this item now has been added to my main course menu. If I want to edit the name or the settings on it, I can hit the down arrow to the far right of the name of the item, and then, for example, I can rename it. And then hit the check mark. So there it is. I can also hover to the far left and click and drag it up to a different area of the main course menu, wherever it makes the most sense. And then to start working on it, I'm going to click on the item. Now I already have some discussion forums here because I started doing this work before I started the recording, but I'm going to create a new forum now. So I'll click the Create Forum button, and I will give it a name and a description, and the description is what appears for the students when they first click on the discussion board item on the main course menu. So some professors put the full discussion prompt and any context inside of this description area, and some of them choose to put the prompt in an actual message inside of the forum. For forum availability, I will leave it at yes. The date and time restrictions allow you to set basically a start and stop time for the forum, but be mindful that for dates outside of these ranges that you might set up here, the students wouldn't actually see the forum at all. So if you enable this, it would mean that the students would not see the upcoming forum and the prompts within it until the moment that it becomes available, the moment that you set it to become available. And then for display until, the students will see it up until this minute, and after that point the whole forum will disappear for them. And so that's something to be very mindful of, because in some cases the students go back and revisit the discussion forums either to help with their studying, in some cases to help with their learning reflections. They may want to go and revisit a discussion where they made some kind of agreement with some of their group peers and that kind of thing. So this is generally, in my opinion, not an advisable way to go. There are ways of locking forums after a certain date, in which case they would still be available, and I'll show you how to do that in a later video. For grading, you can choose to grade the forum. The default is for it to be set to not be graded. If you choose this grade discussion forum option, you'd have to enter a maximum number of points possible, so for example 3. And that would be the grade that students would get for this particular forum, for this particular topic. And I will show you in a later video how to go back and grade these forums. You can also choose to grade individual threads. So rather than the collection of posts that students make inside of a particular forum, you can grade individual threads. You can add a due date, and the advantage of adding a due date is just that the students would receive a notification that something is due, something is coming up that they have to do. You can allow subscriptions to the forum. In fact, the default is for subscriptions to be allowable, and subscriptions means that students can choose to subscribe, and they would then receive email notifications each time there is new activity inside of this forum. And that's an advantage for them because they wouldn't have to sort of proactively come in and look for new activity in the forum. The notification would come to them automatically. Generally, it's advisable to make this option available to them. You can also choose in that notification that goes out, you can choose for that notification to include the full body of the post, in other words, all the contents of the post, or just a link to that discussion topic, in which case the students would have to click on the link and that would bring them into the Blackboard forum they'd be prompted to log in. And the advantage of that is that they could see that post in its full context. In Create and Edit, you can allow the students to delete their own posts. That could be problematic where other students have responded to a post. If the post that they're responding to disappears, it could take some of the sense out of that discussion. You can allow them to edit their own published posts. I always turn that on. I have not been in situations where it would be a disadvantage for them to go back and either proofread or modify their arguments after they've posted. There may be situations where it might not be advisable to enable it, but I haven't encountered any. You can choose to allow participants to create new threads, and that means that the students wouldn't necessarily have to post a response to someone else. They could post an original new thought and start a new thread inside of this forum. You can allow file attachments, so things like Microsoft Word documents or images. And now that I'm happy with my settings, I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. And I can see at the very bottom that this forum has been added to my discussion board, and to the far left of the topic's name I can click and drag this forum up to wherever makes the most sense for it to appear.